Days were currently packed to the gills, and sleeping in was not part of my agenda. Hell, sleeping was barely part of my agenda, period.
Annie,
Scott mumbled as I popped up in bed and began scrolling through my phone, trying to get a handle on the day. His eyes were still shut tight, his voice thick with sleep as he reached out for me, his hand landing somewhere in the vicinity of my arm.
You should rest more.
Nonsense. I shook my head, even though his eyes were still closed and he couldn't see me. A good 3 hours, and I'm perfectly rested. I need to finish looking over those reports from Maui, give Nate everything he needs to write up the butcher shop incident, go over the week's tasks with our intrepid Tanaka Jupiter Inc. employees, triple-check that Evie actually rescheduled her doctor appointment, rather than merely thinking about it and then forgetting entirely.
And all of that does not need to be done first thing Saturday morning,
Scott countered, his hand finally landing on mine. He tugged gently on my hand, pulling it away from my phone and twining our fingers together. Then he lifted his head, one brilliant blue eye finally popping open.
Put the phone down and come here.
But I'm not tired, I insisted, only for a massive traitorous yawn to interrupt me mid-tired. Scott laughed, a warm, familiar sound that still made my heart flutter after all these years. I'd loved this man since we were both awkward teenagers hopped up on angst and hormones, and time had only made that love more fierce and true than I'd ever imagined. Even now, when my attention was still firmly fixed on my schedule and my to-do list, my gaze couldn't help but linger on him. Those sun-kissed muscles rippling over his shoulders, that tousled golden hair, and those blue eyes that looked at me with such pure adoration, making me melt every time. When he pulled me against him, as he did now, my head fitting perfectly against his shoulder, I always felt like I was coming home.
Just close your eyes for a minute,
he murmured, his intoxicating summertime scent of ocean and green and sunscreen washing over me. His hand flexed against my back, molding me more firmly against him.
The world's not going to end just because you slept in on one freaking Saturday.
But what if it does? I sighed as my eyes fluttered closed. Visions of fanged salamis and supernatural incident reports and pregnant Evie in peril dancing through my head. What if it does? The world did not end that day, but I don't like leaving anything to chance. So when I woke for the second time, I immediately ejected myself from the bed. I was unwilling to give Scott an opening to tempt me with further slumber, not when it was already 9 a.m. and I had a full day of things to do. After showering and dressing, I pulled my long black hair into its sleek signature power ponytail and marched down the hall. Tanaka Jupiter HQ was quiet and eerie, the old floorboards creaking under my feet. Everyone else in the house was still asleep, apparently. These days, that wasn't many people. At one point, the Victorian had nearly burst with an unruly assortment of residents. Always busy, always bustling, always alive. But a few months ago, Evie's younger sister, and fellow superheroine B, had transplanted herself to Maui to assist with the area's newly formed demon unit. And Lucy Valdez, our trainer/weapons expert/occasional bodyguard, had gotten married and moved in with her wife Rose. I had campaigned to have the newlyweds relocate to HQ. We had plenty of space, and our sprawling found family of a team had become such a well-oiled unit, it seemed a shame to split us up so definitively. But Lucy had given me a very gentle lecture about boundaries and the healthiness of change, and how this didn't mean she and Rose weren't part of the team anymore. They just wanted some space to exist as themselves. I'd nodded along, but I had to admit, I held out hope that they'd move home eventually. At least I still had Evie. And as I marched down the hall to the bedroom she shared with her husband Nate, a spark of pride ignited in my chest. Even though the team we'd built was currently scattered, we were still that well-oiled machine. And much of that was thanks to the partnership Evie and I had forged. We'd worked our way through toxic best friend drama.